I'm here because of my good friend Joe O'Connell, who said he wanted to make a documentary about me, and I have no idea why. I feel there may be, some kind of putting me up for money or something to keep it from showing. But yeah, I got in film years and years and years ago, oddly enough, at Houston, Texas. After I got out of the service, I went into the theater, the Alley Theater in Houston, Texas. And so I planned to be an actor, and I took a bus out to Hollywood, like a Greyhound bus, like a lot of actors do. And I showed up out there broke and needing money, and I noticed all the actors, or their pictures were just being thrown immediately into the trash can, and agents were saying, "Yes, thank you for coming by." And I thought, I don't want to do that. I've got to go to work. And I was standing on Gower Boulevard, and they were shooting a film with Frank Sinatra.
What year was that?
Golly, it was like 57, 58. And I watched long before you.
Well.
But all of a sudden, they brought out all these cars, and there were like 7 guys standing around by these cars, and they looked like gladiators to me. And the assistant director said, "Okay, stuntman, get your motors running." And these guys got in their cars and started them up. "Okay, action," and wham, bam, they started rolling cars and fist fighting and doing. And I thought, that's what I want to do. How can I do that? And then a little while later, I was having lunch with someone, and they said, "Jack Nicholson, this actor, young actor, is getting ready to do 2 westerns up in Utah, and they're looking for a stuntman." And I said, "I'm a stuntman." Although I wasn't, of course, but I was going to fake it. And so I went on the interview, and I met Jack, and he had an office that was about a 1/4 size of this room we're in now. Actually, it was a paper supply room kind of thing, and he had a bologna sandwich, and I was just sitting there. And he didn't know anything, I didn't know anything, so we just lied to each other. He said, "We're going up to Utah, can you do these things? Can you take a horse and have it get sick, slow down, fall down, and die?" And I said, "Sure, that's no problem. I can do that," having no idea what I was going to do. But anyway, I got hired as a stuntman on that film. And we worked it out. We went up to Utah. We had an absolute ball. It was an independent, directed by Monty Hellman. He did two films while we were up there. And I just fell in love.
Riding the Whirlwind and The Shooting.
And The Shooting, exactly. 2 good films. I love those films. And Monty directed them. Monty Hellman, for those of you that don't know him, is a really good director who directs every 10 years or 20 years. But they were good films, and I fell in love with the process of making film.
Hold on, what happened with the horses scene?
The horses, I called a vet and had the vet come over and give the horse a shot of a tranquilizer. So that gradually he got sick and fell down and went to sleep. And everybody went, "You're a genius."
I worked on a vet a couple of years ago with Millie Perkins.
Did you work with Millie? Oh, wow. Millie and I had a very quiet, romantic evening one night. She said, we were staying in Kanab, Utah. At that time, there was like one restaurant that, just this little hole in the wall. And Millie said, I had to do a horse fall. I was doubly Cameron Mitchell. And she said, if you do a good job on that horse fall, I'll have dinner with you tonight. So I just did it balls out. And that night we went to this little cafe, and we sat over here and had our dinner, and the rest of the crew sat over there and just watched us all night. And that was my evening with Millie. Great lady, Millie Perkins. But anyway, that's how I got started. And I did stunts for years, loved it. But I also did a lot of stuff behind camera, worked assistant camera, assistant director for Al Adamson on several of his films. I got to meet a lot of the good independent film directors like Richard Rush, Monty Hellman, Brian De Palma at that time. But also some of the bad ones like Dave Hewitt and Don Jones, Larry Buchanan, some of the ones that were just cranking out the stuff. And just loved it, absolutely.
Richard Rush still alive?
Richard Rush is still alive, yes.
Wow.
And he keeps saying, I'm going to direct another film It'll just be a year or two. We're talking about Richard Rush, one of my favorite directors, who's 85 or 86.
An amazing history who toiled in B movies for many years and then suddenly went upstream for a couple of big movies for Freebie and the
Stuntman was really
Bean
big.
and The Stuntman.
The Freebie and the Bean and his classic, The Stuntman.
Stuntman.
And then he had a major heart attack
Right.
and had a heart transplant. So he has someone else's heart in him.
Wow.
And he's 84, 85, and he has a script he thinks he's going to do any day. He said, just as soon as Brad Pitt says yes, we'll be filming this movie.
Dropped out of sight again.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, thank you for mentioning him. He's an incredible person, Richard Rush. So that's how I got into film, and then I ended up directing my first film here in Dallas, which was The Pyramid. I came here to work on another film a producer was putting together. One of the first people I met in Dallas was Larry Ratliff, who's sitting right over here with us. And so Larry and I became friends, and this fellow never did put together his movie. His money fell apart and everything. So I had another friend that was sitting here, and he said, well, that guy wasn't ready, but you are. And I thought, well, he's right. I'll just go ahead and write my own movie. So I did. I wrote The Pyramid. At that time, the whole idea of consciousness was very, very in. I'm talking about the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Pyramid power was a big thing going around. People were talking about the oneness of the universe and outer space. We had just had a man walk on the moon in 1969, and we just knew that's going to change the world forever. So I thought, I'll make a movie about all that. And fashioning it after my good friend Larry, I said, I'll make the lead a news reporter. And I'll have him going out and trying to find out about all of these different things that people are getting involved in. So I wrote the script, and actually we involved all the people. We involved an astronaut, Edgar Mitchell, who was the fourth or fifth man to walk on the moon. We talked him into being in the film. Thelma Moss, who was head of neuropsychology at UCLA, we had her in the film. Clive Baxter, who was the lie detector fellow for the CIA and the FBI, and was working with talking with plants. We had him in the film. We put all these people in the film with our actors, and we just shot it here in Dallas and had a ball making it. Everybody got together and helped make that film. Do I speak Spanish?
Yeah, you must know a word or two.
¿Cómo está?
Muy bien. That was perfect.